Good morning guys, and welcome to today's vlog. Today's a bit different, a bit special. It's not one of these Urbex Explores, but I promised Adventures of Paul before I went to Florida that I would take him somewhere he'd never been, I'd never been, and it's sort of an interactive experience. So we are at the Silverstone Race Museum. It goes through the history of the museum itself from maybe medieval times into its wartime period as an airfield, then goes on to its race circuit and the Grand Prix venue. So if you're more interested in the cars, the bikes, etc., you want to look further along in the vlog. But we're going to have a peruse all the way through, see what's on offer, and be grateful if you can come and join us. Paul, come say hello. This is all about treating this guy. He's been there for us since I've been doing the Urbex and whatever, so it's a chance to give something back, and we're going to have a bloody good day. See you. This is your actual circuit right here, showing you an overlay. But it's going to be going through the history of, I believe, what was here before it was even a circuit, before it was even an RAF base. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So before this was a circuit, it was a priory. Some of these names will be familiar to you from the circuit itself. Luffield.
Luffield Priory stood nearby, but by 1280 its reputation had reached the ears of Archbishop Pepper. And
this is, I guess, where I'm going to have to get on my hands and knees or back and crawl through that little hole. Right, so I've got my way into this little tunnel, and it's full of little exhibitions of rats. There's like a goblet there. It just shows you, there's my feet there. I'm basically laying down in a tunnel. And then we come out into what is basically an abbey area. These doors will close up. It's fully interactive. Great for kids, that's for sure. But you've either got to get on your hands and knees, or like I did, get down on my back and crawl your way through.
It was close to the King's Hunting Lodge at Silverstone and took full advantage of paying guests. But in 1340, Henry III...
They've basically turned around and said that the whole area was decimated by the Black Plague. There's Adventures of Paul going out. If anyone fancies a different day out, we went to Stowe this year, and it is full of your Doric houses, mausoleum type things, all like this. They're wonderful to look at, but the estate is absolutely huge. Now travelling further afield, or should we say further forward in time, and we approach the era of the Second World War, when Silverstone was an RAF base. So it looks like, reading this and seeing the pictures, that the base was home to your Vickers Wellingtons, sort of your long distance heavy bombers, not quite your Flying Fortress, but on a par. And here's some of the uniforms. Those who gave their yesterday for our today and tomorrow. Some of the old wings.
You have entered the link. Let's see how you fare in your flight training. Remember, listen to my instructions to guide the plane correctly.
This is where I crash.
Let's start by getting you into the air. Pull on the control stick to initiate flight. Well done. You are now in the air at max speed, heading north away from base. To steer, direct the control stick left or right to activate the wing ailerons. Now in the air, let's see if you can turn this plane around until you're heading south back towards base. To steer, direct the control stick left or right and turn this plane around until you're heading south back towards base. To steer, direct the control stick left or right.
I said it's difficult to do this reading it. You've got the control here, pull back to side, you've obviously got a trigger there, cut the buttons there. This is something that people who want the interactive experience can have a play around with. Here you can practice bombing raids. I'm not actually sure whether this is working or not. You push the button. Obviously it's one of these ones where you really want to be sitting on the seat in front of me. You've got triggers either side and you've got the balloons up there. And you're trying to shoot the balloon targets. Utmost respect for all of these guys. Obviously there are memorials in fields and churches that surround this area. Some of your famous racing circuits. Obviously Isle of Man's still going. Brooklands, kind of, it's got a museum there and I think the curve is still there. Donington Park, along with this one here at Silverstone, very much still going. The likes of them, Palace, pretty much gone by the wayside. British Empire Trophy Race 1937. If you have kids with you, there's plenty of interactive games. Sort of put your little discs on the circuit and there's a dice, roll the dice. Very much is like Ludo perhaps. You old racing bibs. Back in the day, the FIM, the motocross championships, etc. Even nowadays, guys who take part in the ACU Vets Championship all want to wear that bib. Back in the day, Falk, Malherbe, Gabors, Carlquist, Jobay, etc. would all wear a camel racing bib, which was yellow with a number on it and the logo, of course. So this is a very, very precious early race car. Not sure of the make. Probably it says somewhere abouts. Just says a Cooper Mark II. Obviously you don't want you sitting in those, but there is replica cars on site that you can yourself or your children, or if you're just a child at heart would like to get in that, sit in that and play around. We have what appears to be brass rubbings. So you've got some crayons here, put a piece of paper over the top, rub, and you get your image which you can take home. But of course this level below is the one that everyone is interested in looking at. Some of these old beasts down here. So let's go and do this. So following the way around, it starts off with personal safety. So obviously you've got your race gear. Not like what it was when people used to turn around and say they're wearing their race leathers. That's because that's what it would have been like, predominantly for the motorcycle racers. But I dare say back in the day, some of the drivers probably did as well. Then it went more to a silk before it went to these fire-lined safety suits. Obviously the technology has moved on from yesteryear. You've got your halos, everything. You've seen so many nasty accidents over the years and so many greats that have fallen by the wayside, that technology wasn't there to protect them back in the past. Now it is.
Straight, my left rear took an impact bit, flipped the car into a barrel roll at over 100 miles an hour. The car landed 200 metres up straight on its roof. I was initially unconscious. When I came round, the medical team and the stewards were at the side of my car, forcing the door open to get me out of the car. They then put me onto a stretcher board and whizzed me to the medical centre. They applied breathing apparatus because I was struggling to breathe because I was so winded. I was also struggling to feel my feet, like pins and needles in my legs. Before I knew it, I was rushed out to the helipad, put in a helicopter and flown to Coventry Hospital. Without doubt, this is the best medical attention I've ever received, and it makes me feel very comfortable as a racing driver, knowing the facilities at Silverstone are the best.
Some of the things we take for granted, suspension, tyres, etc. It all makes that difference in a sport which could be a few hundredths of a second, but over the course of them laps, them few hundredths of a second could turn into a 5-10 second victory. So pretty much with no suspension, it's bouncy, firm, will be absolutely appalling on your back, your spine, everything. Then you have spring suspension, a little bit softer. You go over to spring and dampener and you get that nice cushioned feel. Your braking systems. Obviously back in the day we've gone from an era where they would have been drum brakes, then they went on to disc brakes all the way round. Now I guess you got ceramic brakes, and you have it two different here. So we have a family car brake, and that's 100%. On a Formula 1 race car, put the pressure on. You're seeing a lot of this technology coming through. You get air suspension, you get air brakes. A lot of it's probably come from your logistics vehicles, your lorries, etc. They've had air brakes for years. Now they've moved that technology into racing. You have disc brake on a motorcycle, so never bother about going like that. You're always going to use two fingers or one finger. And in a motocross, you want the lever as far in as possible to force you to have that upright riding position with your two fingers. So you pull it in. And these are obviously hot brakes. There's not a lot of pull on that. This is where the difference comes in nowadays. The tyre wars, Pirelli, Dunlop, Michelin, etc. You go from a racing slick to your grooved wet weather tyres. Changing them at the right time, staying out that extra lap on a tyre can be dangerous, but it can be worth it at the end. Carl Crutchlow's race suit there, adorning the Motorsport logo, Yamaha rider. see the boot manufacturers. I wore City boots for a period of time at motocross before going over to AXO. Crash helmet, I did wear an Arai for a period of time, or an MDS sometimes, a Biffy and a Borai. There's so many changes of make nowadays. And you have the air vents that go through the back there to keep you that little bit cooler. Now obviously your race drivers will have filter systems in their suit with straws so they can actually get substance while they're during a race. Cosworth DFV engine. Certainly a few of your boy racers out there would love that in their car. Not so much a steering wheel anymore, more of a games console. But that's what they race with, and you've got your, sometimes you'll have a track diagram, it will turn around and give you essential information where the driver can slightly tune the car himself, tighten up that suspension while they're going around the circuit. 2016 Mercedes hybrid power. Ducati Super Quattro engine. Powerful beast.
Producing vacuum pressure through its downward motion. Compression. The piston compresses the air-fuel mixture in preparation for ignition during the power stroke. Expansion. The compressed air-fuel mixture is ignited by the spark plug, forcefully pushing the piston downwards, producing mechanical work from the engine to turn the crankshaft. Exhaust. This action expels the spent air-fuel mixture through the exhaust valve.
That is basically your power. Your gearboxes and mechanisms. Kind of think one day everything would be probably fully automatic, to be honest with you. That's the way it seems to be going with your electric vehicles. They are practically an automatic vehicle.
In the 1960s, there was very little safety at all. Silverstone was very primitive. It was an old airfield circuit, but it was a good one, and always has been a good one. But there was very little safety, and very little work was done around the world on motor racing safety. Formula One led the world, and in fact, by 1968, we ran into a very bad run. The great Jim Clark died on the 7th of April that year, and everybody was shocked because he was the best of the best. But then, 1 month later, Mike Spence died. Another month later, Ludovico Scarfiotti died. And 1 month later, Joe Schlesser died at the French Grand Prix in Rouen. These consecutive deaths suddenly changed the whole attitude to safety. Here at Silverstone, we had pretty good safety. To begin with, it was only a wooden hut, in fact. And in one of the racetracks we had, the doctor was actually a gynecologist. Not exactly what you need for somebody with head injuries or back injuries, etc. Then Sid Watkins came along, the Professor Watkins from the London Hospital. He did an immense amount to change that, and Silverstone was his baby at that time. The Grand Prix Drivers Association, of which I became president, then started to take action on the circuits themselves. The Nürburgring at the Nürburgring, the greatest racetrack of all time, we had to close because they would not do one thing to clear up safety. Spa-Francorchamps had the same attitude, and we closed them as well. Tremendous movement at that time, and the Grand Prix drivers were in a position to give in that amount of authority. Motor racing today is considerably safer. Silverstone has led that. The medical centre that I came to was nothing, and now It's like a hospital. It's as good as you need. For that weekend, we can do almost anything to keep a driver alive. We can then airlift them out to the nearest major hospital. It's been a huge success, and actually Britain has led that, and of course Silverstone is the capital of motorsport for the United Kingdom. So I'm really proud that I was part of that, but Silverstone should be equally proud.
So we exit the labs, the technology, and go and see the vehicles, the cars, the bikes themselves. Some of them quite quirky. Never heard of a Costin Nathan GT, but that's one of them right there. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind owning one though. Michael Lafferty's bike. So this is what I'm more into. I don't mind Formula One, but there is something about the Moto GP guys, the superbike riders, you can't fall off a car. The balance, the skill when they slide into a corner. Neil Mackenzie, great rider himself, especially typical British weathers on a wet day. He could get up there amongst the best in the world and hold his own. Unfortunately, the technology, some of the superior riders' bikes were just that little bit of a class of their own, but the weather was a great leveller. Obviously, with any sort of motorsports, you need your emergency vehicles, your race cars, etc. Follow a pace car or a fire tender car like this will go if there's been an incident. And this looks like a Force India. I'm only guessing, to be honest with you, the colours. Guessing every kid, boy racer growing up wanted themselves a Cosworth. They're actually smaller than you think, but all the same, you wouldn't turn it down. These are your proper old school Ford Lotus Cortina. I actually believe in the last vlog I'd done at Santa Pod, one of these was racing down the straight. Probably a highly souped up engine in it, but it was that chassis nonetheless. It's pretty laughable, the level of protection they had in the day. Kind of non-existent. Would you go in a vehicle, probably at the time, 150, 160 mile an hour with that on your head, open top? I wouldn't. The old style, sort of kind of like horse jockeys, silks. That's the closest I can resemble it to. No protection whatsoever. 125cc Suzuki from 1967. Bike starting to form a racing shape then. Before then, I guess it was your Indians, etc. Full levers. I'll tell you one thing, I do love the tyres on this beast. Look at them. Stunning car. Austin Healey, 1964. 3 litre. Brahman. Been around the sport for many years. An old MG. Looks more like a gangster movie vehicle than a race car. Johnny Herbert's 1987 Reynard. From a different formula altogether, but a lot of these guys start off with probably go-karts and then go through your formulas till they end up with Formula One, the be-all and end-all for them. And back in the day, John Player Grand Prix, so you don't even have the likes of your cigarette manufacturers anymore. Used to be Marlboro, John Player, Embassy. Legend there, James Hunt. Sorry, the old voice is getting a bit croaky, probably need a drink in a bit. Derek Warwick, very peculiar shaped helmet he's got there. These are more your touring car guys. You can tell pretty much by the open face. They look like saloon cars. But trust me, what's under the bonnet is anything but. Rover Vitesse. There we go. Classic Cadbury's Boost Yamaha. YZ 750F. Mackenzie Superbikes. Beautiful pair of Suzukis at the back there. Now obviously I would turn around and say they were Sheen's because Sheen used to ride with their number 7 plate. I can see one of these to the side of me right now. And these they look, I know it's only a go-kart, but they actually look like a sidecar for a moment there. These are your go-karts here. Here we go, the great man himself, legendary to motorcyclists, Barry Sheen, his crash helmet, always adorned by Donald Duck. But look, back in the day he was even hand painted. It just shows you he's actually quite a petite guy. But a legend. A little bit before my time, to be honest with you. I do obviously know the name and I've watched the videos, etc. My era, I guess, the greats, probably not so many greats. So Mackenzie was about, we had Ron Haslam, that there. Is that possibly his championship winning bike? Not 100% sure. Heron Suzuki. Heron and Suzuki being associated for a long, long time, not only in GP, but motocross used to have Heron Suzuki. Rob Herring used to ride for them, amongst others. For those who know, that is a Viking. I certainly didn't, it's only because I've read the plaque to the side of it. Into the 90s and your modern era legends. Crash helmets nowadays are more of a work of art. Certainly beautiful looking piece of kit. That helmet there, of course, is Mark Webber. Is he now retired? I believe so. From Formula One for sure. Maybe he's a test driver. That's Lando Norris. Pretty much in the resurgence at the moment. Getting better and better. Martin Brundle's race suit and helmet. Miles World 7 tells you everything to know. You of course know the legend
only ever fun.
that is
And I won the
Michael Schumacher.
the British Championship in Formula first, and then I was lucky enough to get
One of my all-time favourite there from motorcycle sport, the Doctor, Valentino Rossi, his crash helmet. Berger, the Senna era McLaren from 91. '90s Prost Ferrari. Bit like, I guess, Marmite, love him or hate him, Hamilton. Classic Williams of 92 from Nigel Mansell, probably my favourite, or one of my favourite Grand Prix drivers, along with, I think, probably, I like Button, I did like Jenson Button, David Coulthard. They just have a different aura around them. This is your early days of Valentino Rossi, before he went to Moto GP, made his way up through the ranks, and as a 125cc Aprilia. Damon Hill's 94 Williams, another driver I had a fondness for. This is one of, I believe it's Button's car. I do kind of remember, I know they were sponsored by Virgin, but they done so well coming from pretty much out of nowhere. But I think they was under possibly a Honda engine, I might be wrong, it was either a Ford or a Honda engine, and they pulled out. So apart from that, they dominated. Daniel Ricciardo, Red Bull. I believe this is very similar to the one that's in the Milton Keynes Museum. I do like the Red Bull. It's a lot to do with the livery. They always stand out, they look special. I believe Sauber looked very similar back in the day. And a car that Schumacher made his debut in, that is a 91 7-Up sponsored Jordan. I guess before the likes of Benetton. But cool. All the cars have been cool. All the experience has been cool. It's a great day out. And then we pivot back in time again to a 1952 Cooper Bristol. This is more of a car you could go out and have a jolly in, as well as going out on the race circuit. More of your British Touring Car Championship vehicles. Everything seems to have got a lot smaller. Well, that is going to do it for today's vlog. It's been a fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable experience, that's for sure. Not only the Formula 1 cars, the Moto GP bikes, etc., the layout of the circuit, how everything's done, the manufactured cars, all the technology, but the history, the RAF World War II, prior to that, when it was actually a priory and an abbey. Everything come together perfectly and made a great day out. For the price that we paid, we have entry for a full year, so we can come back again, and we certainly will do. I've enjoyed it, Paul certainly has as well, and with that guys, we'll see you in the movies. Bye for now. Right, you have to forgive the wind. This is a little bit of a bonus footage at the end of the vlog. So this is Luffield Corner, which is at the end of the Wellington Strait. The reason why that's called the Wellington Strait is because that's where the Wellington bombers used to take off and land from. This is the old bridge area down here. Later on they've moved the circuit to that part. But that is a Moto GP Formula 1 Grand Prix circuit for you right there. The famous Silverstone. So this would have been bridge, part of the original part of the circuit, but the runoff area behind us had no sand gravel trap for the bikes, etc. So they moved the track further on from here to that bridge over there. Obviously mural to love him or hate him, Lewis Hamilton. Of the two, it's David Coulthard that I've got more of an appreciation for.